we're recording, and will we have breakout? We will have breakout rooms. Just tell me what to do, and I'll do it.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much, Eric.
Great. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sonia, and I am the co-founder of a firm called StoryNack. We are in the business of coaching on stories to two verticals, businesses and academia. So we do storytelling with corporates, and we do storytelling with academic institutes. Like I said, I cannot move further without requesting each and everyone to be present here to switch on their cameras, not for any other reason, but to give a thundering round of what they call Zoom applause to someone like who's sitting here, Dr. Eric Miller, for giving us this super stupendous stage, which is this, I would say, a gala season of Chennai Storytelling Festival, which none of us have ever witnessed. And I also want to say it on behalf of everybody who's part of this conference. None of us have been more delighted than we are in the month of February, and all thanks to you, Eric, for giving us this beautiful and very pleasing sacred space, especially post-pandemic. We all were very dull in the entire 11 or 12 months last year, and we were eagerly waiting for the month of February for this reason, that we will be in this sacred space, safe space, and mind-blowing space. So guys, can we have the cameras on to give a big round of applause to Eric? Everybody, please. Thank you so much, Eric. And take the entire credit, please. Take the credit, yes.
I take it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So you must be wondering, why am I holding this bulb in my hand? Some of you must have really noticed it, and you must be wondering, well, I'm trying to figure out how do I enhance the voltage, the light of this bulb. And like I'm sure we all have studied in our childhood, that there are two ways to do it or go about it. A, I either increase its capacity or increase the current supply, and thus the voltage will increase. Well, this is exactly what mindfulness is. It enhances the voltage, not of this bulb, but us. Mindfulness enhances the physical, spiritual, and emotional reverberance of our psychological well-being. In fact, I must say, of us as whole. I am preferably a storyteller, but also a mindfulness practitioner. And today, in today's session, I'll be talking about how do these two, mindfulness and storytelling, goes hand in hand. Sometimes some of us use mindfulness and meditation as two interchangeable terms. I'm not saying we cannot do that, but I also want to say we must not do that, because there is a definite difference between the two. While meditation is a journey we want to embark on, mindfulness is a step on that journey. Meditation, as they say, is a process. Mindfulness is an outcome. Meditation is about channelizing the awareness. Mindfulness is about cultivating that awareness. When we talk of meditation, what comes to our mind is the regime, the schedule. We do mantra meditation, we do Soham meditation, we follow a lot of regime-based meditation. Mindfulness is not about just the regime. Mindfulness is all about how we live. It is a part of our lifestyle. It's the way we live. And with this, if I may just show you my screen, and this is how we plan to. Can we see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so let me just tell you now the formal definition of mindfulness, which is not very, very difficult, but it's all about being in the present or paying attention in a particular way to the present moment without being non-judgmental. If we were to remember it in a very simple term, we can say mindfulness is all about being in the present non-judgmentally. So if we can just remember these two terms, we are good to go. We don't have to really remember the dictionary definitions or the Google definitions or anybody's definition, but these two simple terms, that being in the present and non-judgmentally. Now, how that happens is basically, so if I were to elaborate it further, it's about when I tune into my senses in terms of what I'm feeling in my body right now at this moment. Mindfulness is a lot about when I observe and investigate my world at this moment without being harsh on my feelings, my sentiments, my thoughts, my behavior. Mindfulness is also a lot about when I concentrate my attention on a specific moment at present. For example, sound, breath, sensation, etc. Lastly, mindfulness is also about when I pay attention and cultivate the good habits like gratitude, joy, thanksgiving, etc. So you must be reading it on the screen that there's this ABC of mindfulness that I have written. These are the three very, very key terms to mindfulness, which is about awareness. Awareness also goes hand in hand with attention and acceptance. When we say awareness, awareness is about your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, and your environment. So these are the different sets of awareness and attention, and therefore acceptance we talk about. We'll talk a lot about breath in this session, and we'll talk a lot about how it connects. Like I said that when I was preparing for this session, there were two ways to go about it. One was I prepare a lot of literature and give you that literature. Two, the second way was I prepare a lot of formative exercises and explain to you and do those exercises with you so that they become your carry back with you. They become your key takeaways from this workshop, and you can start your journey on mindfulness. After having spoken a bit about mindfulness, let me talk a little about stories and storytelling. Stories, we all know, is the most ancient form of communication. In fact, humans are the largest creators and the consumers of stories. Sometimes we feel that we don't have stories, we are not storytellers because there's nothing which has happened in our lives, we don't have had a rough patch, or we haven't taken any U-turn in our life, so there is no story. But let me tell you, my dear friends, if you have lived a few years and have a little bit of learning, you have the basic ingredients of the story. All you need is just a little narrative. So at StoryNack, we believe that we all are born tellers. In fact, we are the stories we tell to the world. Therefore, storytelling is a very, very powerful, I would say a therapeutic tool to connect with humans, to connect with each other, to connect with their soul and their mind, and thereby heal. Storytelling embraces our creativity. It allows us to take our imagination beyond the reality. And if we do mindfulness storytelling, or if you do storytelling in a mindfulness setup, you can connect with their intuition. This is where I would like to set the pretext of our session, that we'll be talking a lot, like I said, we'll be talking a lot about these two elements, mindfulness and storytelling, and how do they go hand in hand. Before we go any further, I want to take you through this few questions, which I've called as mindfulness quiz, that will allow us to give us a score of our MQ. We have heard a lot about IQ, we have heard a lot about EQ, HQ. Today we'll be talking about MQ, which is your mindfulness quotient. For this, all you have to do is look at this set of questions. There are, I think, yes, 14 questions, and there is a rating scale. 1 stands for never, 2 is for if you have done this thing rarely, 3 if you have done it sometimes, if you do it frequently, give yourself 4 points. If you do it always, give yourself 5 points. Spend some time on these 14 questions, I would say at least 2 minutes. read each question carefully, give yourself a point against each question, and then tell me if you're done, because there is a set of instruction that I have to tell you to get to your total score. I'm giving you 2 minutes to read up the questions. May I please request everybody to be on the mute? Thank you. Give me a few thumbs ups if you have done your rating, because then I'll be instructing you on what needs to be done. Okay, if you have done, given yourself ratings, I'm now giving you the set of instructions. Can I see some thumbs ups if you have rated yourself on all 14 questions? Some of you? Okay, I can't see any thumbs up, which means that people are still rating themselves. Okay, I'll give you 1 more minute.
I have Sonia, so if you want to take me through the next steps, please.
Yes, I'll wait for a couple. Thank you so much, Shivani, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to just wait for another 25 seconds and I'll give the instructions. Yes, now I can see a lot of thumbs ups, raising hands. Thank you so much, Vandanaji. Thank you so much, Shanti. And I'm going to now. Okay, so for the questions, now, questions 1, 3, 6, 7, 11, and 14. I'll repeat. Total the sum of only these questions: 1, 3, 6, 7, 11, and 14. There are 6 of these questions. Question number 1, 3, 6, 7, 11, and 14. Add the score of these questions. Add whatever the ratings you have given. Take out the sum of these 6 questions.
Sonia, can you please repeat what you said?
Question number 1, 3,
Yes.
6, 7,
Yes.
11, and 14.
Yeah, we have to add that and
You have
subtract
just
it.
add, no, first just add the rating of these 6 questions.
Okay.
Whatever rating you have given against these questions, just add them.
Okay.
If you have got a number now, add 34 to that number. Whatever number you got after adding these points of 6 questions against 6 questions, add 34 to that number. Okay? And from this new number, subtract the sum of number. Mr. Nagarajan, can we please request you to mute yourself? Mr. Nagar, thank you so much. Yeah. Now, whatever number you got, subtract the sum of the following questions. Question number 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 12, and 13. Basically, the balance 8 questions. Take out the sum of those 8 questions and subtract it from the previous number that you got. And that will be your final score. You don't have to announce your final score or write it for anybody. That is your secret private number. And once you have done it, please, I'm assuming that you would have got a final number, and that's your mindfulness score. I'm going to tell you the 3 slabs. If your score is from anywhere from 0 to 18, what the final score that you've got, if it is from 0 to 18, you are a beginner. Your mindfulness journey has just begun, which is today, which means that you may find yourself frequently lost in your thoughts, and you're missing a lot on living life by being in the present moment. So it's time that you embark on this journey. It's time that you step up on this journey of being mindful. If your score is anywhere between 19 to 38, then you are pretty mindful. You have regular mindful moments in your life. You try and tend to be present at the moments many times. That is, if your score is between 19 to 38. And if any one of you has got a score more than 38, you are an expert mindfulness practitioner yourself. Just keep practicing. Do not stop. Now, the question here is, why did we do this mindfulness quiz? We will keep this particular number, the score, very handy with us and very safe with us for next 90 days. And since you will have the recording, you can take a screenshot of this quiz also and revisit and review this quiz exactly after 90 days. You must be wondering, why am I saying 90 days? At StoryNack, we follow this principle of 21 by 90. Researchers have proved that if we do something for 21 days, it becomes a habit. And if we like it and love to imbibe that habit in ourselves, we continue to do it for 90 days. Because beyond 90 days, it becomes a lifestyle. So whatever we teach to our participants, to our audience, we insist and urge that you do it first for 21 days to make it a habit. And if you want to imbibe it as a part of you as a life, then you do it for 90 days, because after that, it becomes a part of your lifestyle. And that's the reason that whatever journey you will start today, whatever you will learn today, pick up all of them, 2 of them, 3 of them, or even if you want to pick up one formative exercise from today's session, if you like it, if you want it to be a part of your life, do it for 21 days first and continue to do it for 90 days and review yourself on this mindfulness quiz to see a change. And then feel free to call me that, yes, Sonia, you were absolutely right on 14th February 2021. We learned this and we continued doing it for last 90 days, and this is where we are today. I would be more than happy to be in touch. Like mindfulness, they say, is a journey which you do hand in hand. It cannot be done like alone. And while I was preparing to give you the exercises, there were again 2 things. Like in my slide, you would have read that mindfulness can be practiced in 2 ways. One is informal exercises and the second is formal. Informal ways are where you imbibe mindfulness in your everyday life by inculcating mindful eating, mindful sleeping, mindful walking, mindful brushing, and mindful talking. But more important is to learn first is the mindful, formal ways of mindfulness practices. And today's session, I'll be teaching a lot about formal, or they say formative exercises of mindfulness. If you remember in the first slide, the B of mindfulness was about breath. As in all the mindfulness gurus have said that breath is the most pivotal aspect of mindfulness. We believe as practitioners that paying attention to the breath is a way of anchoring ourselves in that present moment. Whenever we drift, whenever our thoughts or our focus is drifting to either future or the past, we bring them back by concentrating or by looking at our breath. So we'll be spending a lot of time on breathing, the exercises related to breathing, the activities related to breathing. And the first one which I have chosen is about body scan mindfulness breathing, which has proven to be really the most ancient and proven to be the most significant and used in MBSR as well, which is the mindfulness-based stress reduction programs. Before we do that, I also want to tell you something very interesting about mindfulness. It's also about awakening your senses. If you remember in the beginning, I said mindfulness is a lot about awakening our 5 senses. And the easiest way of, or mindful way of doing is to observe. We'll be now breaking into our breakouts, but what we'll be doing in the breakouts is, let's understand, it's called a simple exercise, Quiet 5. What we are going to do is, we are going to close our eyes in the breakout room. When we sit in, maybe we can have a breakout room for 2. I'll quickly just stop sharing this. And yes, I'm back to my main screen. So what we'll do in this breakout is we'll break you into the groups of maybe 2 each. And what we have to do is we have to close our eyes for 2 minutes and observe through our 5 senses. And when we open our eyes, we got to share with our partner what we saw, what we heard, what we tasted, what we felt, and what we smelled, with our eyes closed. And don't be, like I said, the one word that you have to remember when you practice mindfulness is non-judgmental. Do not be judgmental of your own self, your own thoughts, or when someone is sharing or his or her thoughts or his or her reflections. So what we have to do is, for 60 seconds, we have to keep our eyes closed. Those 60 can be 50, 52, 58. You don't have to really put the stopwatch for this. Just close your eyes for roughly 2 minutes and observe and activate your 5 senses. And when you open, share your reflections with your partner, what you saw, what you heard, what you tasted, what you smelled, and what you felt. Are we good to go to the breakout rooms? Eric, can we send them to the breakouts now? Maybe in a group of 2?
Yeah, the thing
Or
is,
we can send them in more. We can also have like 4 in each, or there's no particular rule.
yes, I think we should put 3 in each, because still there are some people who haven't turned their cameras on, and I hesitate to remove them from the session.
No, let's not do that. Let's not do
So
that.
we'll put
Maybe then, Eric, let's put 4 of them. At least there might be 2 possibility of 2 people with cameras on.
right. Okay, so we'll put 4 people in each.
And we'll do it for 4 minutes or 5 minutes maximum. Let's put it for 5 minutes.
Okay, and again, what is the task in the breakout rooms?
Has everybody understood? If there's anyone who has a question, oh great, I can see lots of thumbs ups. Thank you, Poonam, Mary, Anita, Manu. Yes, yes. Money, yes, great. So people have, yes, Manisha. So lots of thumbs ups, Eric. So they have understood the task.
Okay, very good.
And yeah. So I'll see you after 5 minutes.
Okay, here we go. Okay, here you go.
To see them back, and people have not taken this opportunity to exit or quit. And I'm so glad that all my fellow tellers and all my friends here are nicely sitting with their cameras on. Great. So we'll have, Eric, we'll spend another maybe 4 to 5 minutes listening to the reflections from a couple of them, obviously not all of them, but because the time won't allow. So I don't want to take names. Anybody who wants to share their experience of how they felt with this very basic mindfulness activity, which is about awakening our senses. If there's anyone who wants to share what you felt, or if you didn't feel anything, or even if you felt like pathetic, feel free to.
Yeah, and
Sonia,
if you're gonna speak, turn your mic on, and then when you finish speaking, please turn your mic off again.
So I have Amrita, right?
yeah.
Go ahead.
So actually, in the beginning, what I could hear and feel and think was something which was all around. But later, after like say 15 or 20 seconds, I just kept, having flashes of different places, different people. My mind was like saying too many things. So the feelings changed too quickly. So it's like my son's face in front of me. And then I was on a beach or sunset, or probably what I've been wanting to do too much in the house. So, then the thought, like feel and everything changed, because from listening to the cooker sound and children playing, I went to waves and
But it was just 2 minutes, right? So the thought is not beyond what was given.
One second, Shantiji, 1 second.
Yeah.
We'll finish with Amrita, and you'll be the next one.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you'll be the next one, I
So-
promise.
so this is honestly what I went through. Too many things together.
Absolutely great. Absolutely great. Like I said, always remember the big word in mindfulness, non-judgmental.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So we'll go to Shantiji, right? Yes, Ms. Shankar.
It was like just 2 minutes and the task was given to us. Because the task is in our hands, the mind is blocked. The mind is not going beyond. If time is more and the mind is allowed to think as it likes, I could have gone beyond. See, it is stuck with only with what I saw, what I heard, what I smelled, what I tasted, what I felt. Only with this it is stuck and it is not going beyond. And the time is also was very little. So within this little time, going beyond will not be that possible, I felt. To my mindfulness, I felt that within this I got stuck. That's what I wanted to tell.
No problem.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
insist, do it
Yeah.
for 2 minutes to begin with.
Okay.
Do it for 2 minutes, and then you can increase it to what? 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, whichever time. It's all about sitting in with pause.
But it was nice. It was nice. Wonderful.
I have seen, thank you so much, Antiji, Foster and Mary. So we can go in any order. Let's hear you, Foster, first. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, Fausta.
Foster, right.
Yeah, for me, everything was colorless. I mean, there was no color. I felt silent, but a lot of sound, a lot of noise around me, the crow crowing. There was a peculiar bird which was making a sound in somebody's home that I could hear. And then suddenly my mind went, okay, what I need to think, what I need to feel. that was, that my mind started racing there. Then I could hear the sound of my son listening to music in the other room. So there was sound of traffic, but there was that, calmness in that sound too for me.
Good. Very nice. Very nice. The effort was good. Great, Fausta. Thank you. We'll go to Mary or Mary.
Mary.
Mary. Right.
So
Yes.
initially it was like, which sense do I start focusing with? Do I pay attention to my smell or the touch? And it kept coming. And then I realized there are so many senses which happen on a daily basis. And usually I'm not tuned into those. I am just in my thoughts, so much caught up in my thoughts. And suddenly when I was doing this, all those thoughts, they went into the background, and then I was there in that present moment with myself, not thinking about future or past. So just feeling those feelings, and it felt nice. It just felt like some time pause, there was a pause and you were just there with yourself.
Yes.
So thank you.
Great. Great. Yeah. Great. Thanks. Thanks. Is there anyone else who wants to share what you felt, or is there someone saying lived in the present? Great. Great. So, Poonam, you're wanting to say something?
I don't mind. Yeah, I'll share.
Yes, it's always a delight to hear you and your reflections. You know that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sonia, the minute you told us to go in the room, I had come with few ideas in my head. I was discussing few things with my husband about the house that we are constructing. So the minute I closed my house, all the sounds and all that came from that house, what I am imagining in my head. So it was a very beautiful time that I spent with myself, and I got out all the things that I wanted. So what I felt was, I felt the breeze and I could feel the grass. I wanted to feel the grass. And the smell that I felt was that of mud, fresh mud that had been watered, the plants. And the striking thing was the beauty of the garden. So that was which really, and birds were chirping. So I had a nice mixture of things. I don't know what will come out after a year or so when it will be complete. But yeah, today I saw a very nice visual with all the feelings. And I think that was in my mind. So that's what I felt. And yeah, the fruit that I tasted was a quinoa. Just imagine. Maybe I'll put a quinoa tree there.
Yeah.
So that is
great. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And this is what happens when you, when I started. So I practice this little exercise almost every day without fail, because for two reasons. A, it's the quickest. In fact, I start my day with this, that I open up my eyes and I just sit quietly and just observe. Or sometimes I do it at the end of my day. I remember clearly when I started doing it almost 4.5 years ago, I would only observe whatever is happening in my close vicinity, the pressure cooker, the sound of the fan, the touch of my bed sheet or my quilt, the touch of my daughter sleeping next to me or sitting next to me, or the feel, and the taste would also be of the last food that I would have eaten. That would be very obvious. But now, after so many years of rigorous practicing it and also practicing to live mindfully as and when I can, there's hardly I hear, when I do these exercises, hardly I hear the pressure cookers and the ACs and the fans of this world. Like Poonam is also, I know, a very, very strong meditative person who likes to pause, sits and all. So what happens is gradually you awaken your senses to such an extent that you end up observing something which is running probably in your subconscious mind, or which you're thinking for long. So you'll probably step into the garden, you'll probably feel the prick of the grass, or you'll hear the sound of the waterfall, or you will see the ocean or whatever. So these kind of thoughts also come in. The idea is that there's nothing which is right or wrong. The idea to do this exercise is to only awaken your senses. And this is a very, I would say, minuscule, informal way of practicing and bringing in mindfulness into your daily life routine. But like I said, in today's session, we'll be spending more time on the formative way of practicing mindfulness. And I'm going to take you now to an age-old, ancient way of doing mindfulness practice, which is called body scan. This is really ancient, and it has proven to be the most fabulous way of practicing mindfulness. It is one of the key aspects of MBSR, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction programs followed everywhere globally. For this exercise, I insist and urge for you to keep your cameras on like you have. Keep your eyes closed for a simple reason that you'll have to activate your auditory for this a lot. When I say you have to activate your auditory, for two reasons. A, you'll be listening to a beautiful piece of music. Along with that, you'll be also listening to my instructions. So you'll be listening to two things, the music as well as the instruction, and you just follow the flow. Just follow the instructions and go with the flow. And I am assuring and promising you that next few minutes will be the life-changing minutes for most of you. And I would love to hear from some of you whether it was true or not. So let me just put on share screen, and I'm going to just give you my, oh, I'm so sorry. 1 second. Just give me a quick second. Sorry for this little delay, but I'm going to put this on the play mode. 1 second. Yeah. Feel your breath. Just as an observer, like someone watching it from a distance. Allow yourself to hear few of the sounds that surrounds you. Sounds from the nature, kitchen, any sound around you, pleasant or unpleasant, doesn't matter. Observe just the sound that you hear. How's the fragrance, the smell in the space you're in right now? Inhale deep. Observe if there is any fragrance around you. Imagine yourself, you're getting into a scanning machine from head to toe. Is your body comfortable? The machine is scanning to see if you're comfortable. Your knee, your feet, your elbow, your neck. Is any part of your body feeling any pressure? Witness the areas of your body. And now feel the breath. Just inquire, are you your 100% companion? Are you in your company? Are you close to yourself? If you feel the breath, if you feel the distance, if you know who you are, let there be no distance between you and your presence. Body scanning is a healing form of breathing. You're gently and systematically sweeping through your body, mind, and soul. You're intentionally moving your attention through the body. You can take a pause and come back to the main screen, and you can open your eyes. Let's take a pause while everybody comes back. Get to a comfortable conscience, I would say. And if that's happened, please feel free to unmute yourself and share your experience. I have Manjari raising her hands. Yes, Manjari.
Hello, Sonia. Thank you for this wonderful session you're having with us of mindfulness and being in the present. So I have been practicing yoga for 2 decades or more, even more. And when I do shavasana and lie down on the mat and try to calm each part of the body from top to bottom, that calmness which is there, I very much experience the same thing, because over there I give myself orders that calm each part of the body, and here you are doing similar thing. and that calmness which helps me, which has helped me over the years. I felt that same calmness, and I was at peace with myself and in the moment.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Manjari. Like you said, yes, you can practice Shavasana, you can practice yoga, all these things go hand in hand. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and the feelings. Can I have more people please unmuting and share how you felt? It's all about sharing our reflections with each other. Yes, Fausta, please. Yes.
Yeah, this time it was very uncomfortable. For the first time, I realized that I was not breathing fully. I found pain.
Fausta, you're frozen. Or maybe the internet instability. Yes, maybe we can have Fausta a bit later, and I have Haritha raising her hands for sharing. Yes, Haritha, please.
Yeah, thank you for the session. I would say I was totally involved in the music. I was feeling something like the music is trying to tell me something, and I was trying to listen to it. And initially, I was listening to your commands, like whatever you're asking us to do. But over the flow, I'm not sure if it is right. I was not able to concentrate on your words. Maybe I was mostly into the music and how I was feeling, how I was connecting with it. And later, along with the music, there was some drumming sound, like slow drums in the background. And without my consciousness, my legs were actually tapping to it. I was in sync with the drums. My legs were actually moving to it. And I realized it maybe after a few seconds, like something else is happening apart from my mindfulness. Maybe I felt like that. Like I was dancing to the tunes, and that was my two key observations.
Thank you.
And thank you
so much. Thank you so much, Haritha, for sharing your thoughts. We'll go back to Fausta. I think if she's got back her internet connection, or we have lost her, maybe. Then we can.
I'm back.
Oh yes, Fausta, we actually lost you because of your internet stability.
Yes,
so
yes.
yes, please continue. Yes, and we'll come to Vandana after this. Vandana ji after this. Yes.
Yes, I felt a little pain in my body when you were asking us to scan our body. That is when I felt very uncomfortable. Yes, the music, I could hear the music, but my mind was playing between your music and your words. So I was like in two worlds, switching off from music to your words, then music and words. So, I mean, for me, it was very uncomfortable. And I do not know why I was feeling so uncomfortable.
It's, I would say just one word, that it's absolutely okay. There are people, when we do this in presence physically, we have seen people in tears with this exercise. If I may request, I can see Sangeeta on my screen. Sangeeta, you have yourself been such a, you practice healing, you're into mindfulness. If there's anything that you have to share, and in response to what Fausta says, that yes, it's absolutely okay to feel like this.
When one sits to meditate, it is very difficult to say what will come up and how it will go. You can never predict. I think that's my belief.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Thanks. Yes, Sangeeta. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, today I was feeling very relaxed because I've had only 3 hours of sleep at night. So there were no thoughts, nothing. The moment I close my eyes, it's all ananda. But there are some times when you close your eyes and thoughts come rushing in. So yeah.
Yeah. No, you are right. You're absolutely. And thank you so much, Sangeeta, for sharing your thought. But yes, it's true that there is no standard sacrosanct outcomes of when you sit for any kind of meditative practice or formative practice. Like I said, that in our sessions, we have seen people in tears. with such exercises, such activities, that discomfort, that feel of I didn't know where I went, I felt lost, and I did not feel good. I did not resonate with the music. So, like I said, it takes me back to what I started with, that don't be harsh on your feelings. Be non-judgmental. Mindfulness is all about being soft, not being judgmental at all about how the others are feeling and how you're feeling. Let's go back to Vandana ji. She has raised her hands.
One second. Yes. Yeah. Big hello. I mean, the body intelligence took over, and I was wearing slippers. I had to kick them off because I needed to feel the earth. So that was the first reaction. And for me, it was elevating. I mean, I felt one with myself. And that's all that I can say. And I wanted it to continue. To feel one with self is a very difficult, it doesn't come easy. So maybe the transition that you took us through, because while you're observing your own self, you have to sort of just melt and, not tauten tight yourself any part of the body. So I think that was something which happened with me. So thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you so much, Vandana. Thank you. We'll go to Poonam first and then Swati. So Poonam had raised her hands, and yes, go ahead, Poonam.
So what I'm going to just share with you is something very important and a learning in my own life. Well, at the age of around 40, I was struck with diabetes, right? So it was very shattering moment for me, because though my father had it, but he was the only person in our entire family known history with diabetes, that also very late. So I, being his favorite child, maybe I got it from him. So but initially it was not a very happy moment for me. It took me quite a time to accept it, but then I was into Reiki, and also I do yoga and Sudarshan Kriya, right? So Sudarshan Kriya is also all about body scan. We do it every day. But when your faith is wavered, no, you don't get into anything 100%. So I would do it off and on, and I was dejected. I used to feel pretty sad. Why is this happening to me? That is all the initial, 4 or 5 years just went by with just hating it. Why did it just come to me? Because I was always a very active and a very up and about person. And I always thought it will not happen to me, because whenever I got my blood sugar tested, it used to be always below 100. So I was so very confident. This isn't coming to me. I take good care of myself. But yes, I have a tendency to put on weight. So that was one thing that used to be a little big worry for me. But then years passed and I started living with it. And then in the meantime, I stopped doing most of these activities, which were very good for me. But then something from within changed me. I started accepting all these things, and I started doing this body scanning very, very regularly. I would go and give energy to my pancreas, to the other areas, wherever I felt. And that has given me immense power. Let me tell you, share here that I changed in the last 4 or 5 years so much that I am now, there is no restriction. I know I can do anything. I have become limitless. I have become boundless. I do whatever I feel like. I don't let my disease hinder my personal choices, whatever I want to do. And I've been able to do it just because I scan my body every day. The disease remains, but I'm not hindered because of it. I'm a free bird. I do everything I feel like. And I just pay attention to the body scan every day. I have to do it. And I think it's a very powerful. I did not know anything about mindfulness in that sense. But now when I look back, I realize, yes, in some form, I was practicing it and it has helped me immensely. So I just wanted to put this in perspective so that many people understand it is very helpful. I am a live example of that. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity.
Great, Poonam, and your story, most of us present here would know your story and your journey and your accolades and achievements, and we are proud of knowing that. And today it makes me even more happier that yes, there's something like mindfulness, which although has become a buzzword in last couple of years, it's been into existence from millennia, but for a few years it has become a buzzword. Still, even after knowing, lots of us still feel, oh, we don't have time to do that. Oh, it doesn't help. But like you said, and you're a big custodian of, a owner of this practice helping you, which also says that, body scan or any kind of like Soham Kriya or Sudarshan Kriya as it is called, it encourages the movement of energy more smoothly within your body. So yes, you're right that the disease or the disorder remains. Mindfulness practice will not take away your disease. It won't take away your diabetes or chronic illness or something like that. But yes, it makes you so much more equipped to handle that without any stress. And that's the reason why body scan meditation or body scan mindfulness is a key part or pivotal part of MBSR, like I said in the beginning, that globally it is now considered as one technique out of many that helps to practice mindfulness. And therefore, we know that your stress is reduced, your anxiety is reduced, your quality of life, what Poonam just also shared, that the quality of life improves in a big, big way. And it also elevates, like Vannaji what said, also elevates your energy centers. And we call them chakras. But they are, in English, they're called as energy centers. So there are 7 of them inside our body. And by practicing these techniques, you align your chakras, you activate them, you elevate them. And yes, we don't reach the crown chakras because that's nirvana, Vannaji. So we start with the, So we definitely align them. And if our chakras are aligned, then you're sorted. Then you're sorted with respect to everything. Now, if there's anybody else, otherwise we can move on. Yes, Swati, sorry, yes. That's why I remember that there was one more. Swati, please. Thank you so much, Poonam. We have Swati going on.
Hi, Sonia. I'm attending this session for a first time. And while I was listening, I was just enjoying the soothing music. And when you said the smell, so the pav bhaji was cooking in the kitchen, so I can smell the pav bhaji that time. And when you said, like, feel your body, so I was feeling my fracture pains that time. Then when you said, just like divert your mind from your body, so for a few seconds I just couldn't feel the pain for a few seconds. Again, I was back to that because it is really painful to me, but yeah, for a few seconds it helped me.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much, Swati, for sharing and sending you lots of wishes for a speedy recovery. Yes, I can see Mani raising his hands. So let's take Mani as the last person to share his reflections, and then we'll go because we have a couple of more things to finish. Yes, Mani, please go ahead.
My insights of your instructions, what you have instructed us to undergo, reminded of the connection between the mind, body, and soul. If you could have extended this time, my mind would have connected with my body, and maybe I could have connected with my soul. So the conscious and unconscious, subconscious, they talk about in psychology. So it is a bridge to connect these things. So your rendering helped the process.
All right. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, and you rightly said that it's a connect. That's what was mentioned in the first slide where I mentioned A, B, C. So C is for connect. So yes, you're right that it does connect your body, mind, and soul. Great. Thank you so much for sharing your reflections and being a part of this beautiful exercise. Now, like I said, that mindfulness and storytelling has to go hand in hand. And when we do storytelling in a mindfulness setup, we are able to connect through their intuition. If we were to inculcate mindful breathing or breath with children when we do storytelling, I was thinking, how do we do that? So there are numerous ways, but this one particularly I loved. How to imbibe breathing in our story telling. So, for example, let's say there is a story where the main character is a snail, and the snail is moving through various objects. Let's say the snail is moving through a flower, a stone, a twig, a wall, and then finally maybe a bigger tree or a branch. And the storyline goes like this. And if you were to introduce breathing in telling of this story, you don't need equipments, you don't need tools, you don't need anything except for your hands. What I'm recommending here is you make these 5 fingers of your hand as those 5 objects on which the snail is going to move. So let's say this is your flower, a twig, the wall, the stone, and finally the large tree, big tree, or whatever, maybe a mountain. And the index finger of your hand, the other hand, becomes the snail. Now, when you're doing the story, the snail moves along these objects. And every time the snail is going up, you're inhaling. Every time the snail is going down, you're exhaling. So when I start the story, I say, once upon a time, there was a snail. This is the snail. And the snail is walking along the flowers. And he's going up. So you inhale. It came down, and the next, it's moving along the twig. And now the snail is moving along the wall. And the large tree. And it's going to reach the mountain now. So this is clearly a 60 seconds of inhalation and exhalation, which is and the child is not thinking of anything. You're telling the story, the child is breathing. It's a quick and very interesting, fun way of inculcating breathing. The other fun way of introducing the element of breath to our children is to teach them fun way of breathing. Rather than the normal, regular breathing, tell them to do fun way of breathing. And one fun way of breathing is the snake breathing. So you take a long, deep breath. And when you exhale with the sound of the snake, which is the hiss sound. And with your 2 hands, you make the tail of the snake and you go as far as you can. I'll just do it once and then maybe you all can just do it. Like this, it's just fun. So if you have a group of 10 children, 20 children, you can just keep repeating this. But suddenly with this, breathing becomes fun. Breathing becomes fun, then it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, they know the importance of mindful breathing, and then your job is done to teach breath as an important element to children. And there are like this, there are like numerous ways of introducing breath. It brings me now to another segment of breath. Like I said, we'll be spending a lot of time on breathing or understanding about the breath as the pivotal role to our to introduce our journey or to get into the journey of mindfulness. There is another, before we get into this formative, I want to also give you a fun and informal way of mindful breathing, is conceptualized by a very famous neuroscientist from Johns Hopkins. He feels that, when we ignore mindfulness, it's mostly because of the time, that we feel that, oh, we have less time. We can't really spend 15 minutes on just doing the breathing. I would rather finish 15 tasks. He calls it 3 by 3. The technique is called 3 by 3. You don't need any equipment. You don't need any tools. You don't need yoga mat or anything. All you need is to look at 3 different objects around you. Any 3 different objects around you. If I were to look at right now around me, I would say there is a notebook, there's laptop, and there's a pen. So these are the 3 objects that comes handy to me right now in front of me. all I have to do is, without linking any adjectives to these objects, I have to say, this is a pen, and then do inhale and exhale. The second, this is a laptop. This is my pen. This is my notebook. You know, these kind of simple, so he calls it very nicely. It's published in one of his white papers, and I happened to have him. He was here in India a couple of years ago, and we chanced upon, and I learned it from him. And I find it personally very, very easy, interesting, fun, because children, when it comes to inculcating mindful breathing into children, it's very, very challenging. So when you do these things, it helps. Now, coming back to another segment where this is also a formal way of breathing or using breath as a key aspect of mindful, is called detox breathing, which I personally own in terms of being the best ever breathing technique in this whole world. It has helped millions and zillions of people. It has been conceptualized by Dr. Andrew Weil. He's an American, and it's been globally accepted and being practiced. It's called 4-7-8 breathing, and it's a very simple way of practicing mindful breathing. And there is a little instruction. So if you allow me, I'll just tell you the instruction, and then we'll spend some time on practicing, and that is where you can pick up if you like it. It's called 4-7-8. Now, 4 stands for the 4 counts of inhalation. When you inhale, you count 4. 7 stands for the counts of holding your breath. So when you inhale, after that you hold for the count of 7. And 8 stands for the count of exhalation. So when you exhale on the count of 8. There are a few things which we keep in mind when we're practicing this 4-7-8. When we inhale through our nose. But when we exhale through our mouth. The other instruction is, when we inhale, there is absolutely zero noise. We don't take out any sound. Our neighbors should not come to know that we are doing this exercise. But when we are exhaling, let there be a sound, deliberate sound. And while you're doing this, in fact, when you're exhaling, put your tongue on your frontal tooth, on your upper jaw, on the back of your frontal tooth. So just simple instructions: inhale through nose, exhale through mouth. While inhalation, zero sound, exhalation sound. Hold on a count of 7. I'm going to do it once for all of you, and then we'll switch on our cameras and we'll do it at least for 3 times, so that, you know, when we are off the camera, or sorry, off the workshop, we still remember it. So it goes like this. I'm counting in my mind. So when I'll inhale, it is 4. When I held my breath, it was 7. When I exhaled, it was 8. So everybody has got it. Brahmari is slightly different from this, Renu. That's a yoga way of breathing. That's a different way of breathing. But yes, there are, like I said, breathing. There are like millions of exercises for using breath as your main element. Has everybody got it? Are we ready to practice it at least for 3 times? Great, I can see lots of thumbs up. So please, I'm going to count, and when I say inhale, exhale or hold, that's also counted as 1 count. So instead of counting for 7, I'll use the word hold, and that is the 7th count, and exhale as the 8th count. And the word inhale is 1 count. Okay, are we good to go?
Yeah, just one clarification.
Yes,
Sonia.
yes.
See, I needed to know, where do you keep the tip of your tongue while you're exhaling?
Exhaling. Absolutely.
So I make my mouth go round, right? Because only then
Down,
can I exhale.
oval, whatever.
Okay,
Your
okay,
choice.
okay, but
Nothing specific.
okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So are we ready to go? We'll do this like 3 times so that we know it like fully. And this is like a tried and tested detox breathing. It takes away all our anxiety, all our stress. We immediately come back to our present moment. So, okay, great. 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it one more time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it one last time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You may open your eyes, and if there's anyone who has a question, this breathing helps both on your physical and mental health. It really is beneficial. It takes away all the clutter, and when there's a clog. I don't want to burden you with the scientific terms and the science behind it, but yes, this breath has a straight effect on the amygdala, which is your main center in the brain that is responsible for all your reactions, all your emotional outbursts. So this breath helps to align your centers in the brain. If there's anyone who has a question or anybody who wants to ask me anything. Yeah, great. Good. Super fabulous. Yes, Mani is raising his hands. Yes, Mani, please go ahead.
Yes, this helps us to increase the breathing capacity of our lungs.
Absolutely.
Over a period, what we normally do is a half breathing or shallow, or it will reduce the capacity of consuming oxygen for the body. Oxygen is essential for the body, so this techniques will help us to enhance our breathing exercise, breathing ability. So that will definitely energize the powerhouse that is the body.
Oh, true.
Yeah, Sonia, even I agree with him totally, because I felt oxygenated, like really. So thank you.
No, it helps. It definitely helps. And like you rightly said that, involuntary, when we breathe, we keep breathing. We cannot survive without breathing. And it's an action which we don't even notice that, oh yes, I'm breathing. I'm sitting now, I'm breathing. No, it's not like drinking a glass of water, but it keeps happening. But when you do conscious breathing like this, whether you follow any regime of breathing, it's just a suggestive technique. You can follow, Renu mentioned that, yes, you can follow Brahmari, which is again a very powerful way of breathing technique, which is more commonly followed as, all those who practice yoga. You can do any sort of pranayama exercises by the yogic experts. It helps. And like rightly you said, Mani, that yes, it enhances your lung capacity. We might not use our lungs to the full capacity. Well, this brings me to towards the end of my session. Before we close and before we get into the questions or any reflections or any more conversations, I want to leave you all with this short story where there was once a wise man, and he would believe that one does not need many means to live. In fact, to prove that, he used to live in a barrel, and he was happily living his life. One of the days, the great King Alexander came to him and asked him that, I've heard a lot about you. What is this big deal about you that people talk about? And is there anything that I can do for you? So this wise man was enjoying his son at that time, he looked at Alexander from up to down and he said, well, if you can just excuse me, I'm enjoying my son. And at this, Alexander was stunned. He was taken aback. He just left from that place. He reached his own palace and he called everybody and he just talked about this whole episode and realized, or in fact, this small little episode tells us about two things, that there are two kinds of people. One, who might have everything or might look that they have everything, like King Alexander would look to have everything what one could desire from, but ends up being hollow from inside. Because when he met his people in the palace, he told that I met this guy and I want to be like him. And the second kind of people are who might look hollow from outside, that, oh, they don't have anything, or they're living in those minimalistic way. How are they living, or sort of those things. But they are so abundant from inside. And mindfulness is one such technique or one such regime, one such thing that if we start to follow, then our heart and soul gets full of abundance. We become abundant in general. And that's the thought I wanted to leave you all with. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening out to me, for being so participative, for being so encouraging. Let's promise to each other that whatever we have learned today, even if you have liked one thing from today's session, please take this back with you. You feel free to take back everything. Feel free to be in touch with me if you have questions or if you want to ask or whatever. But at least take one thing and practice that. That'll be my biggest reward. And once again, thank you so much for being a lovely audience. Thank you so much, Eric. We can open the house for
Okay.
pointers, comments, reflections.
Yes, we have a couple of minutes if anyone wants to say anything.
I can read all the comments now at peace. And Sangeeta, you have by chance called me by this beautiful name. One of my sisters calls me. She calls me Sona. So she is. I don't know whether you were consciously writing it or it was just a typing error. But thank you so much. It took me back to how she calls me. But lovely, yeah. So yes. Thank you so much. If it's a fantastic, great learning, please follow this. Please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. I am going to try your breathing exercise. I really enjoyed that. Very relaxing.
Yeah, please do that.
Thank you very much, Sonia.
Hey, thanks, Manjari. Thank you so much. And thanks for all these very, very beautiful messages that you all are writing. I am overwhelmed and very, very happy.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Humans would be a better race once we realize what you've taught us. Believe me, so much more peaceful and loving and gratifying. And, so thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, you're
Thank
right.
you so much, Sonia. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward for more sessions with you.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you. I'm glad that you resonated, you liked. And thanks to all of those who shared their reflections, their experiences, and all those who participated. And Eric, I cannot end the session before once again thanking you for making me a part of, like I said, this gala festival and the special season of CSF. This is the first time we are seeing something like this, which is like going on for 4 weekends. It's never happened in the history of storytelling festivals. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Eric, once again.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Poonam.